Welcome to Flat Ride of the Week, episode 20. Today we'll be talking about pirate ship rides as we celebrate this series making it to 20 episodes. As we inch further and further into June, please keep in mind that I could be recalled to Cedar Point at any moment. At that time, all video production will halt on my channel, and Flat Ride of the Week will move over to Alex's channel. If you want to continue to watch Flat Ride of the Week, I strongly recommend you go subscribe to Alex's channel, linked in the description. As always, if we forget something or say something that's incorrect, please politely correct us in the comment section below. Let's get started. Alright, and starting with the history. These rides actually have quite a long history that actually dates all the way back to early Victorian England with the swing boat. The swing boat was one of the first fairground rides, consisting of a boat-like gondola that seats two riders who use ropes to swing the boat higher and higher. The first of these rides was thought to be introduced in the mid to late 1830s. By the 1880s, some steam-powered versions were being produced. Today, some of these rides still exist, and some of them have been made recently, and they're traveling on a lot of period fairs as well as other fairs, but a lot of those period fairs, like the famous Carter's Steam Fair, which travels the UK. The swing boat is still made today by some smaller manufacturers in Europe. The first direct predecessor to these modern rides we know of, with a larger gondola, was created between the years of 1893 and 1897 by Charles Albert Marshall of Tulsa, Oklahoma. This ride would go on to travel many of the American circuses of the time. Several more smaller European and American companies would produce these rides between the late 1800s and the end of World War II. After World War II, several American and European manufacturers would go on to create these rides. These rides kind of hit their prime in the 1970s and 80s when not only European and American manufacturers, but Japanese and Chinese manufacturers started making these rides. And the newest region of the world to begin production on these rides has been the Indian subcontinent, which is seen as a rapid growth in its amusement industry in recent years. So it seems that wherever these rides production starts, it pretty much signals the birth of a new amusement industry due to their simplicity of production. In fact, these rides are very well known, sadly, in the Chinese knockoff unlicensed rides business that are actually quite dangerous just because of how simple they are to produce. But yeah, that is the basic history of these rides. Now let's get into what most of you are probably most familiar with, which is the Western models. So on to the modern models. Just a quick note, all of these modern rides use one or more truck tires underneath the ship to move it. That's the method of power. It's nothing in the top of the arm or the sweep arms or anything like that. It is all underneath the gondola. So moving on, we have chance rides with the Pharaoh's Fury / Sea Dragon. So somewhere around the late 1990s, the name was changed from the Sea Dragon to the Pharaoh's Fury. So if you see one of these called the Sea Dragon, it's an older model. These rides have proven extremely popular at American amusement parks and fairgrounds. This ride can seat up to 48 adults or 60 children and swings up to a height of 54 feet or 16.5 meters. This ride comes in both transportable and permanent versions, can swing to a maximum angle of 65 degrees. This ride is often simply named Sea Dragon or Pharaoh's Fury thanks to Chance providing the signage for that from the factory. Many permanent models do exist in the US, with some of the more prominent examples being Sea Dragon at Michigan's Adventure and Riptide at Morris Piers, Riptide being one of the newest in the country. And then moving on, we have Intamin / Giovanola. So like many Intamin rides of this time period, we're talking the 80s and 90s really, many of them were actually made by the now defunct Giovanola. The Intamin name for this ride is the Bounty, and the Giovanola name for the ride was the Swing Boat. These rides are larger than the Chance models, seating between 50 and 160 adults. They're also capable of reaching a 75-degree angle, which is 10 more than the Chance model. Giovanola advertised 4 models, the Type 1, which had 50 seats and rose to 19 meters or 62 feet. This is the model that Intamin actually still produces today, and it's actually the only one they still produce today. Then there was the Type 2 with 84 seats and a max height of 34 meters or 111 feet. They then introduced their Type 3 with 112 seats and a max height of 38 meters or 124 feet. The final model was the Type 4 with 160 seats. This ride's a little shorter though at 35 meters or 114 feet. Intamin referred to the Type 1 as the Bounty, and they referred to the Types 2 through 4 as the Super Bounty. These companies also built a twin version of the ride with 2 swinging ships using the same, partially using the same supports. This ride was installed at Nagashima Spa Land. Giovanola was also responsible for the looping swing boat, which was once very popular, at least here in the US. Intamin made a second version that uses a space shuttle themed gondola rather than the pirate ship. This ride is like the normal Giovanola/Intamin swinging ship, except it has a counterweight, which allows it to effectively invert at a height of 18 meters or 59 feet. These rides are slowly being removed across the world in the places they were installed, the most recent removal being at Valley Fair. There's still a few operating though, with one of the more well-known ones being at Carowinds. Alright, and then we have the Zamperla model, which is known as the Galleon. Comes into both a park and transportable model, seats up to 42 riders. Swings to a max height of only 13.9 meters or 45.5 feet. One of the most well-known US examples of this ride is River Rocker at Six Flags Great America.
And around 1978, Haas introduced the Pirat. I will simply pronounce this pirate in the video. So the Pirate turned out to be one of, if not the most successful pirate ship model ever. The Pirate consists of a boat with 9 rows. According to Haas, the maximum capacity is 54 riders per cycle, so with 6 riders per row. But most parks allow only 5 people per row. The center of the boat can reach up to a maximum angle of 75 degrees. The Pirates were originally built as traveling rides. In the late 70s and early 80s, a lot of Pirates were sold to traveling showmen in Europe and North America. The Pirate was so popular on German fairs that some showmen bought multiple Pirates to travel with. German showmen Bausch and Menzel even worked together and put both their Pirates next to each other at the Oktoberfest. In the early 80s, the Haas Pirates started to become more and more popular at parks, and Haas started building permanent versions of the Pirate. More than 50 Pirates were sold all around the world. In 2014, Haas introduced the new generation of their pirate ship. It has the same capacity as the older Pirates, but it's taller and it's only available as a park version. Only 2 second-generation pirate ships has been sold by Haas, one to Djurs Sommerland in Denmark and one to Lotte World in South Korea. And when the Pirate was very popular in the early 80s, Haas made a bigger version of the Pirate called the Traumschiff. The Traumschiff has 12 rows that each fit 10 people, so it had a capacity of 120 riders per cycle. It also was huge in height, as the boat could reach up to 32 meters or 109 feet. The prototype was sold to German showman Bausch and Menzel in 1984. The Traumschiff traveled in Germany until 1994, then it was sold to Gorky Park in Moscow. Gorky Park closed all their rides in 2011, and it is unknown where the Traumschiff went. Only 2 other Traumschiffs were built, but those 2 were even more special, as they both have 2 boats, so they have a capacity of 240 riders per cycle.
Wow.
The 2 double Traumschiffs were sold to Toshiman in Japan and Everland in South Korea.
Various Italian and Spanish manufacturers also made their versions of the pirate boat. For example, Fabri, SBF Visa, SDC, and many other smaller companies made pirate ships. Many Chinese companies and Japanese companies have also made pirate ships. Many Indian subcontinent companies are now making pirate ships. It is all over the world. Every company that makes flat rides has pretty much made one of these. It's very well known. And very common. Alright, and then moving on to some other facts.
So in 1978, Schwarzkopf made some kind of pirate ship on rails. So it didn't have the A style structure like the common pirate ships have. It was called Santa Maria. 5 of them were built, but sadly only one remains operating at Fantasy Kingdom in Bangladesh.
And an interesting fact about the height requirements for these rides is that though they're all just about the same, they all have very different height requirements depending on what park you're at, even on the exact same model. For example, the Huss Pirate at Hershey Park has a height requirement of 42 inches or 107 centimeters. Meanwhile, the Huss Pirate at La Ronde has a height requirement of 52 inches or 132 centimeters. Huss recommends that the height requirement be no lower than 39 inches or 99 centimeters, though they allow the parks to set it to whatever they want as long as it's higher than that.
Some Spanish and Czech manufacturers actually make pirate ships with stand-up cages at the end of the boat. And for example, at Luna Park Cap d'Agde in south of France, showmen actually added stand-up cages to a real Huss pirate.
I can imagine that would be quite an interesting experience, because these rides, I don't know if you're watching this, you've never been on one, they give some pretty good airtime, especially if you sit towards the back, so not in the middle. In the middle you don't get the horses near as much, but towards the back you get actually some pretty gnarly airtime, especially if you're on like a Huss or an Intamin / Giovanola one. I have been on 3. I've been on a traveling Chance Rides one. I've been on the Huss at Cedar Point Ocean Motion, and I've been on the Intamin / Giovanola at Kings Island. Of the 3, I think I probably liked the Intamin one the most, though I have not ridden any of those in the last 2 years, so I kind of need to re-ride to get a real opinion. Alex, what would you like to add to the end of this?
Well, if you have a pirate ship at your home, probably you have. But if it's like a Huss or something, you should definitely go ride it and try to make some good atmosphere at the rides. Like for example, when I go to the pirate ship and it's busy at my home park, Plopsland in De Panne, I sit somewhere in the boat. It doesn't matter where, but once you go up, you need to put your hands up in the air and scream, and try to get the whole boat with you. So once your side is up in the air, your side screams and put the hands in the air, and when the other side is in the air, they put their hands up and scream. It's really fun. It's just amazing. Everyone is having a good time when that's going on, and it's always fun to make atmosphere in those rides.
Yeah.
Even though they are not the best, they're so fun.
They're not intense. They provide airtime though, and that's, a lot of the people who watch this are coaster enthusiasts, so you should love that. So if you want airtime and all the coasters have long lines, maybe give a pirate ship a ride. Definitely interesting rides. Not the most thrilling, not the most intense, not the most complex, but nevertheless interesting and important parts of amusement parks that I hope after this video get a little bit more appreciation. I think that's about all we have for this video though. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.